Good time of day to all of you, my friends here on the Internet Chess Club. This is Grandmaster Alex Chermalinsky. Welcome back to my live show. It's been a long time, a whole month. I think I had a good time of day to all of you, my friends here on the Internet Chess Club. This is Grandmaster Alex Chermalinsky. See, I'm losing my touch, forgot to mute the browser. It's been 3 weeks, 4 weeks? Yeah, in the beginning of February I had a show, and, sorry for the wait, but really there were no interesting events to cover until finally Aeroflot Open rolled in. And before we move on to talking about that tournament, and there's a lot to talk about, obviously, I want to apologize for being late today. Well, I have an excuse. And as they say, one picture is better than 1,000 words. Okay, this is... Oh, it's hard to see that it's really me, trust me. Well, it was taken about an hour and a half ago. By the time we got out of the snow and back in the truck, and drove back home and changed and all that. Sorry. But you know what? I need exercise, right? You want me to stick around and... be your favorite commentator for longer time, and I have to take care of myself, right? So obviously nothing beats a nice ski walk on a crisp late winter day. No, there was still 18 degrees Fahrenheit, so which would put it around I guess 8 below in Celsius. So it was pretty crisp. And a hell of a lot of snow, I'm telling you. Some of the snow ridges, that was very difficult. Well, I fell only once, but it's okay. Nothing broken. So, with that out of the way, I would like to move on to the subject of our talk today, which is the Aeroflot Open. Now, this tournament has a tradition of 17 years. Or is it 18 years now? Yeah, something like this. I think the inaugural tournament was held in the year 2002. And I was thinking of going there, and I'm glad that I didn't, because maybe I would have spoiled the party of my longtime friend and colleague, American Grandmaster Gregory Kaidanov, who in a surprising win, obviously because Gregory was 43 years old. To this day he remains the oldest. Although, you know what, he didn't turn 43. I guess his record was beat by this man. Kaido Kulauts, you see him on the picture. Estonian Grandmaster, 8-time Estonian champion. Well, a decent player, peak rating 2603, some 7 or 8 years ago. But who would have thunk it, right? That this guy would win the tournament. Incredible. The same guy from 18 years ago is doing their website. Hey, why mess around? Ain't broke, don't fix it. I don't know. As much as you guys, I like, slick-made websites, but sometimes they go too slick. Like, for example, one thing, everybody loves Chess24, right? I don't. Well, they're very heavy on your resources. There's just too much graphic over there. It's just too much stuff, It slows down my computer. One thing, for example, and I know my machine is getting old a little bit, but it was, it's still pretty good for most of my purposes. But really, I can't stream, when I have Chess24 on. So, everything comes at the cost. So, Aeroflot organizers, okay, fine, whatever. I don't really care much about their website. If I am going to show anything today, it actually is going to be chess results, with technical results of the tournament. So, so Gregory won it 18 years ago, but Kaido Kulauts won it this year, and kinda turned 43 the day after the tournament ended. So that makes him the oldest winner of Aeroflot Opens throughout their history. There are some big names. I think Nepomniachtchi won it a couple of times. And Le Quang Liem, won it 2 years in a row. That was great. One year I played, 2005. The winner was Emil Sutovsky. Obviously, some of the stuff in Chess24 is top-notch. And, I don't hope to compare. No, simply in the sense, that, first of all, I work within the framework, allow me to this awkward turn of a phrase, of what's offered to me. I don't have my own YouTube channel, and I never will. There has been another attempt to get me on the streaming thing and all that, so I would be, yapping non-stop, 24 hours a day at the expense of everything else, including this, by the way, which cannot be replaced. And then what, I'm going to be begging you for donations to pay for my medications and doctor's visits. It's not right. Well, I figured it's not for me, simply. So I know time and again I'm asked, well, Alex, when are you going to have your YouTube channel so you can be, we cannot have enough of you. Please be there, please. Well, sorry, guys, too late. Well, I don't intend to start any new projects at my, tender age of 61 almost. And yeah, okay, I need to get rid of all garbage calls. Yeah. So anyway, by the way, well, hello. It was showing Kaido. No, Kaido is the hero. I'm not. Well, Fedoseev won it and Kovalyev won it last year. Springboard for many young players. Well, it's not only winning a nice chunk of change and finishing ahead of whatever 90 grandmasters or whatnot. It's also a ticket to Dortmund. Okay, when you say 61 is not that old in this modern day, what do people do at the age of 61? They sit in their chairs. In corporate world, yeah, if you like, I don't know, a supreme justice, well, you can be there, till the day you die. In my book, these people are like senile. No, right, well, I'm not saying that you're senile at 61, but there is a certain loss of things, Energy is no longer there. I could tell by, the day of skiing today. All right, and it's not only that, it's mental energy, it's not there. It's simply impossible to produce the way you were producing when you were 30 years old. Even 40, to me, even 40 years old is sort of like, watershed. Yeah, I understand people grow into nice, soft, comfortable chairs in corporate world or in the government or wherever, or more structured things like the armed forces. Whatever, but this is not it, that's not what I'm talking about. I'm basically a man who works for himself, like the day in and day out. Nobody is gonna give me anything because I'm Alex Chermalinsky, who may have won a tournament back in 1983. Well, yeah, good question. Well, we'll talk about this. So, well, it's not old in a sense like, yeah, I'm not feeble yet, I can, basically go to the bathroom on my own. Which is by Estonian, well, I don't know, it's not really a proverb or anything. I just heard it from my good old friend Jan Elvest. He said, oh, well, in Estonia, the girls are very picky when they're young. And but then they get a little older and they get smarter. And then what they're saying is if a man can get off the couch and go to the bathroom on his own, he's a pretty good husband material. I think so. Well, I like the attitude. Hey. Well, speaking of Estonians, Kaido Kulouts, yeah. I want to talk about Estonia a lot. So anyway, let's round up this talk about age and all that. It's, well, yeah. So, Aeroflot Open, I played once in 2005, and it's one of my warmest memories. I actually scored a GM norm in this tournament. You know, I'm obsessed with GM norms. I know I've been a Grandmaster for quite a long time. And I became a Grandmaster at the age of 34. It could have been accomplished probably 10 years prior to that, but hey, well, there was a different world then. The Iron Curtain. But it still was a long time ago, right? And I'm kind of obsessed with making GM norms. I think that, I don't think it's so difficult to do. The GM norms did not increase. Well, they calculate them for rating performance of 2600. The same way they did 27 years ago, whatever, 30 years ago. Yeah, well, this is wrong. Probably some rating inflation. Probably it's time, to raise it, to 2650 performance. But still, like if you can do this once in 3 years, that it proves that you can still play chess. But I don't play a whole lot of 9-round tournaments. I don't get many chances. I did score a norm at Aeroflot Open 2005. Yeah. I had a +1 result, 5 out of 9 against a 26-27 position. Yet I had no impact on top places in the tournament, not at all. I was sitting next to some random guys, whatever, Belyavsky, Tkachев, young Sergei Karyakin, my friend Suat Atalek, Vladimir Yepishin, Jan Elvest. Good players, but no, thing is, at Aeroflot, it's not enough to be a good player. You have to play well. I mean, look what happened this year. Where are the top guys? Okay. Now, you look at this. Okay, on your left, right, it's the way they finished, the rankings, right, from 1 to 24. I only took guys who scored 5.5 and more. The second column is the starting position. Kulauts started at number 62. By the way, I was number 90, I believe, in the 105-player field. It was very even. Well, where are the top guys? No, right, you can say, well, Wan Hao, number 3, and Wei, well, they finished 4th and 5th. But people, they won in the last round. They were nowhere near the first place. Nowhere near. And they still finished a full point behind. Inarkiev, well, he won his last 3 games, I believe. And, pardon me, where's Fedoseev? Where's Dubov? Whereas Kovalyev, last year's winner, these guys didn't do well, not at all. Not only a good player, real good player, can have a mediocre event at Aeroflot. A guy who's, well, you gotta be good, right? But, no, like Kaidanov was good, right? Kulauts is good. But, no, still, you can perform, way over your head in this tournament. Well, you need a combination of things. You need to be determined and, well, these guys, the winners, they always show great determination. But you also need a bit of luck. Important to get off a good start. Well, to win an open like this, it's not an open with, say, 10 grandmasters, and another, well, 130 players of weaker stature and lower ratings. Where indeed, maybe you could do a bit of a Swiss gambit or by accident, make a couple of draws at the start or lose the game. One of the World Opens I won, I lost, I think, in round 3 or round 4. Then you can get on a big streak. Here you don't get on a big streak. It's impossible. I mean, well, Shashikarian, well, ended up finishing 3rd. You know that Krishnan, everybody thought he would be the hero of the tournament. He started off with 5 straight wins. Nobody had ever done it in history of Aeroflot tournaments. And then I jinxed him. I wrote this thing, for ChessBase, commentating on rounds 4 and 5, which were played on the same day. And Shashikarian won both games, 5 out of 5. And I said, Krishnan, just hold your nerve. And that's exactly what he couldn't do. He got beaten round 7 by Martirosyan. This guy, Haik Martirosyan, he is very young, still the revelation of the tournament. Well, you don't see U18 next to his name, but I think he's just 19 years old, if I'm not mistaken. He's very young, one of the stars of the new generation of Armenian players, and great result, obviously. No, only by tie breaks. But anyway, the man, of course, is Kaido Kulouts, no doubt about it. There he is. 42 years old. I mean, results like this, well, they give hope to all of us. I mean, think about if a guy, could achieve the pinnacle of his career, no, put it this way, for now, so far, right? At that age, after pretty much struggling, well, he played, he's a professional player. He played a lot, he traveled many tournaments and played many opens, but won the Estonian championship 8 times. Okay, great, but I mean, this is the first time, and maybe one and only time he wins something. But this is what it is, because chess is a sport. No, everybody loves the underdog. And now Kulouts, no, I don't know. You can say, yeah, well, I know it sounds kind of, once again, I'm going back to the Sage thing. You can die in peace. Like these guys, the New York Rangers fans, they're saying this. I believe in the year 1994, when the Rangers brought, this 50-year drought of not winning the Stanley Cup. Now I can die in peace. Okay, well, I mean, anyway, nobody says that Kulouts should die, but, I mean, 20 years down the road, he could sit there, at some training camp, being a coach of the Estonian team, coaching some guys that were not even born yet, and any of them starts acting out, Kaido would say, you know what have you ever done? You won nothing yet, and maybe you never will. And they say, but what about you? You're rated 24-42. And he would say, I won the Aeroflot. And that should shut everybody up once and for all. I mean, a tournament like this, a tournament win like this should never be forgotten, no matter what happens after that. All right. Why is the top guys struggle to win opens? No, well, it's not always the case, right? Well, when we have tournaments of little higher stature, no, that would be Isle of Man now, of course. There was this Qatar Open, and there's Gibraltar, obviously, is right there. No, well, I mean, obviously, you say Artemiev won Gibraltar. Artemiev was not ranked #1 at the start of the tournament, but hey, well, Artemiev is. He's a major talent. And, breaking through the ranks, playing all these tournaments in Russia was so hard to do that I guess it was much easier for Vladislav to play at the Gibraltar tournament. And hopefully his career will take off. Obviously, his recognition will have to wait, because all the fields now, and I looked at the fields for Grand Chess Tour. Okay, that is very conservative. We have the same names over there pretty much. But Artemiev didn't make the list of players for new FIDE Grand Prix knockouts. Instead, you have the old hands, like Yakovenko and Vityugov. That's kind of a shame. But no, well, they look back and they look at ratings of a year ago. I basically, if you want to hear my opinion about all this, once again, look at my friendly face when I go on a small rant. What the heck are these guys thinking by, well, taking average rating for the past 24 months? Who cares for a person's rating in January? I mean, think about it, it's like 2 years to date. Now, we're going to have one guy, I don't know whose name is, you pick and choose your name. Whoever, tanks this year and plays badly, of these Grand Chess Tour people. He gets there because of his rating, average rating for the whole year of 2018. January 2018. That is an important rating. The guy would be playing in December 2019, the last stage of this Grunches tour. Almost 2 years to the date. What is this? Well, how does this fit in this 2019? That everybody, like, every time I say something, you know, like, oh, back in the day, they say, wow, you have to go on with the program, it's 2019. Yeah, if it's 2019, why the heck do we need rating that reflects results in December of 2017? Now, well, okay, my twisted paranoid mind suspects that there is certain pressure, because in every field, in every area, every field of human endeavor, you know, every walk of life, everywhere, there are more people who protect in their position rather than the people who try to, you know, break through and make their own statement. Chess is hard enough to improve, and yet, no, well, here of course it's face-to-face, but you don't get to play these people face-to-face that many times. And then, that's what happened to my man Fedoseev. Look at him, his shadow of himself, of what he was 2 years ago. Well, granted, he had a couple of tournaments, yeah, he played Dortmund, but, well, everything was coming. He still never was a situation when Fedoseev would think, okay, I can take my time off. I can skip a few tournaments because they're not important, because I'll get to play a big one, you know, 3 months from now. That was never really the case. So these guys, you know, when they finally get the rating up a little bit, you know, they're like, I can't stop, I have to push. I have this lucky wave, you know, I have to ride it until I become 2800 or whatever. Then they would have no choice but recognize me. But it's hard because those winds of luck, they're very fickle. Don't they? Now, my opinion, well, the only rating that you need is the current rating. Okay? Well, forget about everything else. Screw your past achievements. Okay? Nobody cares. Everywhere in the world, I mean, look, I hemorrhage students. You know, I lose my gigs, you know, here and there. Well, and it's a fact of life, right? What have you done for us lately? That's the thing, you know. Well, all right. Okay, we will have time later this year to talk about FIDE, knockout tournaments and the Grunches tour, because I plan on being around and bringing you coverage of main tournaments. So what started off as Russian Schoolboy Live, maybe it's still Russian Schoolboy, even if I don't show any prepared analysis and any of that, you know, everything is kind of, I'm pretty much winging it. What am I saying? I'm winging it pretty much every time, but no, I'm trying to, bring you current events. Yeah, that's the plan. FIDE needs to tighten things up, yeah, for sure. They have this new leadership, and every leadership stagnates. Well, revolutionary of yesterday becomes a bureaucrat of today. And what it becomes? And it becomes supreme justice of tomorrow. Well, a senile individual. Now, well, that's fact of life. You know, like this, I don't know. I kind of long for the times, you know, when kings and queens were like, what, 16, 18 years old, and they, whatever. I mean, long for the times, obviously. Well, I can only get this from historical novels and maybe some serious accounts, but I mean, I want young people up there. I want young people to compete. I want Duda, I want Wei, I want Fedoseev, I want Artemiev, I actually want Jeffrey Chong in there. You know what ticks me off, you know, like before I go to those games, I will go to the games, don't worry about it. I'm just, you know what ticks me off? In the US Olympic team, right? Okay, fine, Shankland made it. But a person of Sam's determination and devotion, well, they don't come in bunches. I mean, is the door completely closed now for other players? How can you become a 2700 player playing open tournaments in the United States? You can, because you have 3 of them good, and then the 4th one, you know, something goes wrong, and you lose all the rating points that you gained. It was impossible back in my day. Well, there were times when Kaidanov would get hot, or Shabalov, or myself, or somebody else. We would win a few tournaments and maybe reach some, but the drop was inevitable. I don't know if Wei will ever break through, but how does he break through? What can this kid do? Play open tournaments? No, he played. Well, competition stuff everywhere in China, extremely difficult. What was he supposed to do? I mean, he's playing those Chinese guys. I mean, Ding Liren and Yu Yan Yi, the Bu is strong, you know, like a lot of strong guys over there. It's like, what do we expect him to do? To consistently score 70% against these guys and become a 2800? No, Ding somehow managed to do this, but no, it's just hard. Besides, there are people of different styles, some prone maybe to take more risks. I mean, I'll show you the game how Wei lost to Kulats. Clearly, that was his desire to win, and led him to led to his demise. Okay, to the games. Now, Kulats. Importance of a fast start. Round 1. He faces current World Junior Champion Parham Maksudov of Iran. Well, one of the, maybe the leader of this pack of strong Iranian players. Well, I credit my old friend Grandmaster Ivan Sokolov, originally of Bosnia and by way of Amsterdam and all that. Ended up working with the Iranian team. Results are obvious to us. Great success for young Iranian players. Parham also is not lacking in confidence. I will wing it, of course. Parham is not lacking in confidence after he had this blazing thing, 9.5 out of 10 at the World Juniors. He lost the last round game, but he had already clinched it. He said, yeah, I plan on getting to the candidates, and I hope I can challenge Magnus Carlsen in the next World Championship match. No Karpov's, oh, this is not my cycle, well, maybe some other time. No, Parham would not do this. He's confident. Okay, good. Yeah, but fortunes change for him just a bit. I kind of noticed that recent tournaments, well, he's off. You know that no proves once again. I don't really need any more proof of that. I've seen it too many times that no, in chess your fortunes change. That so many people can play good. No, if you want to beat these guys who are of your level and maybe even higher, you need this lucky wind in your sails, but wins are fickle. So Parham opens with e4 and now Kulats. The Najdorf. Okay. A little bit about Estonia and no, Estonian school of chess, if you wish. No, obviously, no, you think chess in Estonia, well, it's Paul Keres. Indeed, you know, Keres was an influential player and who should be placed probably alongside the world champions of his era. Think about Keres. Probably had a chance of beating Alekhine in the match. The match would have happened if it wasn't for World War II. No, from what I read, and I have a feeling that knowing Alekhine, you know, he would not duck that kind of challenge, and he liked Keres. Well, I think he liked Keres' style, and he would love to play this match. But already I have a feeling that by the year 1939, Keres was a better player than Alekhine. So he could have won that match. Really. If it happened. Okay, then of course we go in this era of Botvinnik, and then there is some talk about the KGB forcing Keres dump some games to Botvinnik. I personally don't believe in this, but okay, well, whatever. But yeah, well, Keres probably felt little uncomfortable in his first years back in the USSR when he returned to his country of Estonia. He probably should have seen it coming, since the Soviet troops already, well, were chased the Germans out of Estonia. Then obviously they were going to stay, the spoils of war. But anyway, Keres made his decision, fine, you know, like this. Well, actually, didn't have a... Well, all my Estonian friends, they always told me that Keres was a happy man. He lived a good life. Unfortunately, it was cut rather short. Well, it's not like he didn't take care of himself. He was very moderate and ate well, was never fat, but something with his heart, and he passed away. How old was Keres when he passed away? Oh, Jesus Christ. Was he 61? I better be careful. Anyway, yeah. So Keres, no, well, really, in Estonia, I visited this country or part of the Soviet Union as it was for first half of my life very many times. No, Estonians practically neighbors, you know, to us from Leningrad, St. Petersburg. You know, it's a train ride, bus ride, whatever, you know, now you can drive. And I mean, I've visited 25 times at least. And I had friends over there, and Jan Elvest, obviously, is my big friend, and Alexander Weingold, and I was friendly with Lembitol, late Lembitol, and all that, you know. And I played them very many times, and I played in Estonia. And then there's something interesting about Estonian players. They always have their own stuff. I mean, they have their own vision of chess. They play the kind of stuff they believe in. They do study opening theory. They're not neglecting it. No, they don't. Yes, Keres, 4 times runner-up, you know, like maybe he could have beaten Botvinnik in the match if there wasn't for Tau, right? Botvinnik seemed a little vulnerable late 1950s, to be honest. Well, and I think the peak of Botvinnik's chess probably passed around the time he played Smyslov in those matches. And if Keres won that candidates tournament in 1959, where they basically had a winning score under normal circumstances, but Tau just scored 1.5 more. We shouldn't forget that Keres beat Tau in their mini match over there, 3-1, with no draws. It wasn't enough because Tau was just beating up on everybody else. Happens. Oh, Keres was, yeah, I'm sorry, yeah, 59. Okay, well, yeah, very young, obviously, for a guy like Paul Keres, Paul Petrovich. I mean, he played tennis, you know, never smoked, never drank in excess, looked trim, and well, something was there, or maybe it's just an accident, maybe he just trained himself, you know, that he traveled, he went to Vancouver. I mean, the transatlantic flights, you know, and all that. You have to be careful about that stuff. Yeah, indeed. Maybe it was just an accident. If he just slowed down a little bit, maybe with those trips and whatever, they could have lived to be 90 years old. Yeah, but so the Estonian players, they have their own view, you know, they stick to their guns, you know. It's not like that. It's hard to think of an Estonian player who would say, "Oh, Carlsen played that yesterday in this game. I want to play it. Forget about my stuff. I want to play better moves, the moves that Carlsen play." It's not how they think. No, they play their own stuff. Their styles may be a little different between themselves, but important is stick to their guns. What's Kulauts? So Kulauts always played the Sicilian, always played the Najdorf. And of course the Najdorf is under assault, and the entire thing with the Sicilian. And you'll see that particularly the way he plays it, the Najdorf, he plays it not the way Nepomniachtchi and Vasheva Graf and modern players played, when they mainly go for e5, right? Well, no, he uses it like Kasparov as a springboard to get to e6, to Shevchenko. And those structures are under serious assault. But Kulauts was ready to meet the challenge. Now, Masudov goes knight b3. Alright, so to me this move indicates that, no, he simply was not prepared for this game. I know the first round, I don't know when the pairings were made, you know, and all that. Maybe they were just made a few hours before the... No, it's not only about chess players, it's their national character. If you travel to Estonia, you'll see that they very much... Protective is not the right word, you know, but they're very appreciative of their own history. They're a very small nation and their numbers are dwindling. Well, they're almost extinct species. You know, we sit there and we talk about, oh boy, there was a tsunami somewhere, or there are starving, you know, people in Africa. But I mean, there are hundreds of millions, not billions of them. You know how many Estonians left in this world? Probably less than 3 million people. I mean, and their language is unique. Nobody can learn to speak Estonian, well, unless you're born there or whatever, or go there and move there in young age. This belongs to this Finnish-Hungarian group of languages, you know, which is notoriously difficult. But, well, the Estonian language, and even the Finns, you know, they cannot understand Estonians, they cannot speak. There is too much deviation between these two languages. Estonian is extremely difficult. And, no, in Estonia, they're really appreciative of their history, and, well, they're very proud, you know, they have this, one of the oldest universities in Europe, in the city of Tartu. You go to Tallinn, you walk those streets of the old town, and it's like, I mean, they keep it this way. They won't let, you know, any Trump, you know, like maverick, you know, developer, you know, raise those buildings down and build a Trump Tower or whatever, any of those monstrosities, you know, like Deutsche Bank. Well, there is no way, you know, like, I mean, they have to come and kill the rest of the Estonians before they can build, you know, some kind of glass, you know, and concrete monstrosity of 40 stories high in downtown Tallinn. No, I really have a lot of respect for this small nation. So anyway, now, what Parham did wrong, you know, if he had time to look at Kulauts' games, he would realize that Kulauts is an e6 guy. The whole thing about knight p3 is provoke e5. That way White immediately goes bishop g5. There are some lines when White plays bishop e2, and then maybe, you know, they would go for bishop g5. But this would be the most effective way. But Kulauts was not going to play that. He absolutely wasn't going to play e5 because he just doesn't play it, really, in the Najdorf. So he goes g6. Well, is that the dragon? And how big a deal for White to play knight b3 against the dragon? They've done it in the old classical line, right? With short castle, of course. Clearly, we're not going Yugoslav attack with the knight on b3. Not the standard way, right? But what the thing is, from Black's point of view, there's also some flexibility. That knight, where's the knight? That knight never went to c6. When White replies with knight b3 and on old classical lines of short castle and the dragon, it's always done after knight c6. Now the knight can actually go to d7, which is very much a Najdorf thing. And that's what Kulauts is familiar with. Now bishop e2, alright, good stuff. And now g4. Now this is a good line. I think White is doing the right thing over there. But the next move is remarkable. In the beginning of this Dragendorf, it is sometimes called, that mix of the Najdorf and the dragon, black would allow white to play g5, sometimes even encourage them to play g5. It proved to be wrong. White plays g5, and even if he doesn't have the attack, in a sense of opening the h5 and going bishop h6 and mating like they do it in the Yugoslav attack, right? Well, there are some other advantages because the knight is driven away from f6. I mean, if you think of patterns of dragon counterplay, it's like what? Rook takes c3, bishop takes g4, knight takes e4, right? Standard tactical patterns, combinations that black plays. Without a knight on f6, that white controls d5. No, I understand why black plays h6. In my opinion, it's a great move, the best move in this position. Comments? A little quiet here. I need more people, that's why. Okay, now white catches up on development. The logic is that we're gonna play queen d2, and it's like what? He can't castle. But look at black's setup. Very Najdorfy, I would say, right? b5. And there is one more thing there, which we'll get to in a matter of few moves. Oh, no, first stop over here. a3. Going back to the days of Bobby Fischer, well, one of the greatest players, of course, who ever played the Najdorf, he was always very happy to see this move played. He felt that it gives black that hook to blast open some files and get to the white king. Modern players, they're more ambiguous about this. There are many variations where a3 has to be played. And in this case, white was sort of forced to do this because of the position of the knight on d7. You know that in the dragon, black does not attack with b5, right? It's kind of useless. Instead, they play on the c file by playing bishop d7, rook c8, knight e5. We know that. But b5 with the knight on c6. Suppose if the knight were on c6, right? Okay. I need to go back. Knight c6. Suppose I go f3. You want to do the same queen c7, or be my guest, b5. Now I think white would simply castle, because in this case the knight can go to e4. There is this b6 square, and this position I don't know yet. We need to go a little deeper. But here I like white because the b6 square is and threatening to go there, and also the knight on c6 prevents black from hitting the knight on a4. Now, if you go to the game, you'll see the difference. In this situation, you can't put your knight on a4, can you? This is so dangerous. Probably rook b8 followed by queen c6. What's happening with your knight? Nothing good is happening with the knight. Trouble. And forget b6. You never get to b6. So a3. Alright, rook b8. Indicates that maybe one day black will play b4. Well, but so far knight b6. And Masoud will play this move. This move looks good. I think he was counting on this line. Look what may happen here. I take. No, queen takes, it's just not satisfactory. Because the queen does not attack really anything. It's not going to be sacrificed on c3. When white is already in a position to play strong move knight d5. So we need this tempo on the b3 knight, so then we hit the pawn on b2. I looked at one line, never checked it with the computers, by the way. I take. Now I suppose it has to be bishop takes. I mean, this is quite awkward, I'd say. But maybe it's possible. But anyway, my idea was, if bishop takes, I was gonna go knight d5, queen b7, takes here. I'll take this guy, threatening mate. And on bishop e6, which protects d8, and still question is, what about the knight? You're not giving up the b2 pawn. White actually has this move. It's quite possible. You can take the knight, right? Guys. Rook b4. Kaput. So anyway, this is what I think that's what Masood was looking at. So he knew it that in this situation, maybe he expected black to castle now. Well, he can still return to his attacking plans with h4. But Kulats played e5. Now, this is total Dragendorf, right? You finally play e5. But I mean, this move never works in the Dragon. But this is a different situation. So he took, because now if you go back with the bishop, knight c4 will be played. And then you would have to take, most likely, and after pawn takes, you would have to bring your knight back to a1. Nobody wants that. So Masood takes, logically so, and plays h4. So he's got the d5 square and pressure on the d file. Bishop e6, king b1, castles. This may be the first time when Kaido Kulats kind of castled into it, but not the last time in this tournament. If one thing he showed extreme coolness under fire and absolutely no fear. I'm about to reach the point, Jacob, when I can tell you whose position I like more. After this move, I like black more. I think it's a mistake. Well, when you play knight d5 in such knight of structures, you expect a knight to be taken. And you're ready to take with the pawn. Caruana does it all the time. It changes the pawn structure, and in itself, it's not a bad idea. But first question is, what are you getting? What piece are you getting? What black piece? Are you getting the knight or the bishop? I'd say most of the time you prefer to force him to take with the bishop. No, well, there was a path to it. And knight d5 takes. And we do pawn takes. Now, I gotta give black credit for one thing. When it comes from the knight of the structure, then the bishop, the rook has to go to e8 or whatever, bishop there, g6, and so clearly black economized a couple of moves. Yet the position is unclear. You do this, and of course white knows what to do. c6 square. You may not go there right away because he can play the undermining move, knight takes. But the rook on b6 is awkward, and it can only go back, and then it's going to come with a tempo. Rook c8, no, c3. Hard to do before. It's a difficult position to evaluate. Perhaps some people would say black has no problems. Maybe. But I think the mutual chances. The way Masudlo played it. Bishop back to d7. It's not really getting to c6, right? You know that. Bishop covers. He did it not because he wanted to continue with the plan knight a5 c6, which Caruana and many others employed so often. No, he was attracted to opening up the light squares, either for some kind of comfortable blockade, or maybe even for an infiltration to h7. Look what he did. Yeah, maybe you're thinking, well, bishop to e4, queen to d3, then trade with bishop f5. Or perhaps c3, pull the bishop back, queen ahead, aiming at h7. You know where he went wrong? Once again, I'm not going to knock on this young generation of players. There are better players when we were in their age. Maybe there are better players when than we ever were at any time. I don't know. I mean, it's pointless. In chess, you can only prove things by playing. And, well, playing is what the younger players, generally speaking, do better. Old folks, you know, they're good. They're very good in talking about chess. They're not really good at playing. But it still does not erase the fact that the young generation should study games of previous generations. Because you simply cannot miss this move. This idea had been played so many times in the King's Indian and similar positions when you need to activate this bishop. I mean, Garry Kasparov would play this move when he was 5 years old. Every player of Kasparov generation would first look at a4. Now, by Kasparov generation, I mean guys who may be way younger than Garry Kasparov. Like Kulats is younger than Kasparov, of course, by some 13 years. But he studied the games of Kasparov. He grew up, you know, looking at the games of Kasparov. So moves like e4. Okay, anybody here of the 21 people watching, what is your take on a4? Would that be the move you would play or consider? Or what? Thing is, in the computer world, while e4 is considered, it's not really highly regarded by computers. I mean, it's just a move. It's one of the moves. So if you train yourself to look at computer moves, then you may miss e4. But if you trained yourself looking at Garry Kasparov's games, then you cannot miss e4. Comments? I understand it's not much of a threat, but he was thinking in terms like, well, what can black do to my position? Black is clearly not interested in playing f5. It weakens the light squares around the king. There isn't much going on the c file. The a5 before thing is stopped. I think, you know, Masudlo did not expect to checkmate on h7. Clearly, black can move the rook away from f8 and then there is nothing. But he just, he had some appreciation for white's position here. Well, yeah, it looks unnecessary bold. That's the whole thing. You would, Masudlo and his ilk, okay, would look at a4 if it was forced. if it was a tactical line that white was threatening. That you precisely nailed it. He did not look at this move because he didn't think that the position would call for something like this. Kulauts, however, because he grew up watching games of Garry Kasparov, thinks that this is one and only chance to do this before white puts the bishop on a4. Look at the game now. b4. Well, clearly, b4 is a necessary follow-up to all this, because the open bishop is open bishop, but it could be blunted with the move c3. So the timing is impeccable. Now, this is the idea. Simple. Then, what happens here? I can go bishop d3, whatever. Endgame. Taken on a6. This. Wanna take on b3 twice. Tactical thing. On rook d3, which seems good. There is rook a8, trapping the white bishop. So it's not good. Not good at all. Meaning that black's gonna take on b3 twice, and then you have the rook and the bishop and the other rook coming over, all hitting on b2. Now, there is no need for black to calculate a forced win. Maybe there is no forced win, but clearly he's the one with the initiative in the same game. Very unpleasant turn of events for white. So, Masudlo is a talented player, plays a great move, a4. Now, he gives that pawn back, but he slows black down. But the follow-up was not good. The knight had to stay on b3 to the bitter end. Until black, whatever, pulls the bishop back, somehow brings a5, a4 in. When this happens, okay, it happens. For now, there was no need to worry about bishop takes b3. Well, I know it's not much of an attack. You may even think, oh, what's going to happen when this queen comes to f6? All right, it comes to f6. Not claiming any advantage for white. I don't believe that white has any. I'm just trying to get a reasonable game. So I play this. Never mind the pawn on f4. I took control of c8. I can bring my knight to d4 later. For example, you take here. Okay, maybe it's not the best, but let me play it simply this way. b3 now is not that effective. I can go c3. Now, what piece can mate you on a2? Only the queen. The queens are gone. Well, white has possibilities. I don't think white is worse at all. The pawn on f4 is largely irrelevant in my opinion. Hardly any squares for this bishop. Where to go? This is a terrible mistake, considering that the queens are present. Of course, b3. Well, this is where this factor of luck, clearly Kulauts was underestimated by his opponent. Well, I mean, you still have to perform, you still have to make moves to prove your opponent wrong. And also a bit of luck, because clearly a familiar pattern for Kaido Kulauts. He didn't seem like a guy who played the Niter for first time in his life. Not the way he played this game. I know black is a genius, but no, well, his play is showing all the main patterns of play in such positions. You may say that black is a great student of the game. Which doesn't necessarily mean a student of opening databases. But the familiarity with ideas, it clearly shows here. Well, I don't know about c3. Now that is risky already. Well, I know it's not there yet, but rook to b8, queen to e5, and then it's trouble. An attempted counterattack. Maybe. I guess it would be a better choice. This, I think Parham Maksudova was just completely shell-shocked. How this game will turn. What is that he missed? What can you possibly miss here? That black tripling up on the b file and hitting b2 as hard as I can? You can't miss that. It's exactly what black is going to be doing. Triple up. Nice attempt to alleviate pressure, but there will be no rook trades. Hitting the knight. Nothing to do but take. No, well, you know, it's a cliche. Opposite cover bishops make attacks stronger because you can use your extra piece in attack. There is nothing the white bishop can do to help the b2 pawn. The dialectics of chess game, right? In the end game, opposite cover bishops often use saving grace. You make a draw down a pawn or 2 pawns. In the middle game, you can be busted in a seemingly equal position. Like, I mean, there is no worse piece configuration for white in this pawn structure than what he has now. He has a good-looking bishop on e4 that is protected by the pawn and protects d5 and looking over to h7. Has nothing to do with the immediate problem, the pawn on b2. Well, a5. The pawn joins in. White is already in a desperado mode. He had to deal with bishop f4, willing to give up the exchange. He took it. And check. And a bit of a puzzle rush thing, you know, that is just so popular in some internet sources now when you go through a lot of tactical positions very quickly and literally in a matter of seconds. And I don't know how much time Kulats had on the clock, but he found it. Okay. No big deal, you know, upsets happen, right? A guy, you know, well, wins in whatever, 150 point, maybe less, 130 point upset. No big deal. And then, 2 rounds later, in round 3, Kaido Kulauds gets to play another Iranian star, who possibly considered even brighter star than Masudova. 16-year-old Alireza Firuza, who almost made a huge name, household name for himself in St. Petersburg back in December, because he was leading this World Rapid Championship and only faded away a little bit toward the end. Extremely talented player. Almost mirror image of the game I just shown you. once again, offbeat line, and once again, this really no excuse in the sense that you go against a guy who likes to play Scheveningen structures. And h3 is basically designed against a5. You know that, right? In e6, yeah, this is a Keres attack. First of all, you play in a Keres attack against Estonian. It's like, I don't know if it's an anecdote, I don't know. So, well, allegedly drunk Alekhine, you know, came to play this game 20 or whatever, you know, of his World Championship match in 1935 against Maksoeva. Well, anyway, maybe he was travel weary because it was a traveling circus of a tournament, like the Dutch like to do. Well, they traveled from one Dutch town to another. Well, maybe it's not a long distance, obviously, it's not America or Russia size-wise. But it's still hotel rooms, you know, and whatever. You feel like you're living out of a suitcase. But anyway, so Alekhine shows up this next game and brings his cat. He had a cat, a beautiful cat, named him Chess. And to amusement of the public who gathered, you know, in this to spectate the game, Alekhine puts the cat on the chessboard. He was black, and says, Chessik, you know, what opening I should play today? And Chessik, as the legend goes, touches the F pawn. Well, obviously Earl was gonna play d4, right? He rarely played d4 and never in that match. And Alekhine says, you know, like, you're still a stupid animal, you know. You're telling me to play the Dutch defense in Holland against a Dutchman? I love the story. Anyway, so in this case, I mean, it's a poorer version of the Keres attack. Alright? Let's do this. Keres attack. E6. Oh, pardon me. Old classic Scheveningen. You go with this. Now, if black does a6, which is they used to do this, then g5. Now, obviously white is not. If white is gonna play the h-pawn move, he'll go to h4. He won't go h3. Actually, one of effective plans, attacking plans, is the old Velimirovich plan of completing your queenside development, going queen h5, and then lifting the rook like this. For that, the h-pawn should not go anywhere, not to h4 and not to h3. Yeah, the cat was thinking God knows what, you know, so well, obviously chess education was. Or maybe Chessik didn't realize that he was in Holland. Or maybe he didn't know who his guardian, using the modern term, was playing, you know. So they're playing some tall guy, but anyway, we don't know what cats think. So, alright, well, if black plays h6, which I myself guilty of playing very many times, including once in a simul game against Anatoly Karpov, the only time I faced the great Karpov, and I'm not going to show you this game, because in this game I didn't manage to play one active move, and Karpov just strangulated me. No, I was just a little kid, come on, 14 years old. Back then, you know, 14-year-olds were kids. Well, I was spending more time running around kicking a soccer ball than looking at any variations. I loved chess and I played every time I had a chance. But studying was not it. And now, aside of rook g1 and other moves h4, Shirov plays h3. Okay, now, we have a combination of h3 and g4. in some ways it may be like the expanded fianchetto line. In a regular fianchetto, white starts with g3 and then oftentimes plays g3, g4 later. Almost always plays h3 too. But this is a different story. Who's gonna play h6 here in this position? Nobody would play this. Well, it already happened many times in tournament practice. I'm not saying this is a bad line for white. Anand played it. Anand beat Topalov twice, including an important game in the candidates, the tournament that he won in Khanty-Mansiysk. Knight d7. This early knight retreat, but no, white cannot do better on the king side but played g5. So they play this move anyway. Now, well, the one question is, who played h3 and why? Once again, a3, that's fashion. You know, look, it's repeating the same thing, but in Kulauts's understanding, yeah, the guy maybe still lives in the past, right? Games of Kasparov and maybe some others. I'm sure he studied Fischer's games, although it was not during his time. But still, what else was there to do? When Kaido Kulauts, he's 43 years old, right? When he was a young player 30 years ago, were there any computers? I don't think so. I bought my first computer in '92. It wasn't 30 years ago, it was less. Besides, you know, like this, there weren't this analysis engine, and even ChessBase was just starting, and the databases were small and rather clumsy to use. h6 is out of the question because it would justify white's setup with h3. That would be Shirov's favorite position. And Shirov and his buddy Viktor Bologan, they played it against me and Sam Sevian and many others. Now you made this commitment. Now white goes for f4 and other stuff. Hard to castle short now. No, well, obviously, 20 years ago it was considered bad for white, slow. 20, 30, 40 years ago, the only way to play against the Sicilian is to sacrifice on d5, f5, e6 or b5. Because black wins long games in the Sicilian, white wins short ones. No, white can afford this as far as development, right? It's not like white is going to be busted, you know. No, okay, look at the reply to this whole thing. Knight d7. I mean, plays the knight backward move with the only developed piece. There is no way white can fall behind in development in open Sicilian. I don't know how badly you should play. White's got a big, huge lead in development. It's black who makes little pawn moves. So maybe white figures, no, well, I can do this. I can do the same. White's not behind in development. Now h4. Critical moment of the game. Once again, you're a young player. You're talented. I mean, this guy, Ali Reza, you know, it's no secret that I spend a lot of time at chess.com. You know, I worked there, right? I mean, let's not get into this, how come I work for two competing outfits, but no, I don't think I'm competing. I think now moving up completely opposite directions. Well, these guys, they're doing their puzzle rush and the bullet challenges and all that, you know. We're totally old school here on ICC. You sit there and listen to me for an hour and a half, you know, I'm yapping away, you know, whatever, you know, looking at some games at the snail pace, literally. No, well, Anand played it. So, Ali Reza knew that. So anyway, about chess.com, you know, he's one of the top rated bullet and blitz players over there. He's like, okay, there is Nakamura, there is Who else is there? Andreikin, always high. Maybe Grishuk was. There are some other guys. And then, I don't know. And then it's Firuza right there. Gensun Sumus. I think you put an extra M into this, but that's okay. It's one M in the last word. Well, I mean, you know, like people put this some kind of a catchphrase or whatever into the Skype profile, right? I mean, I have my own, you know, like that. That is an old baseball reference, whatever, doesn't matter. But people put all various stuff. Sometimes they change it, almost like doing the reporting on, I don't know, whatever, like where they are at the moment, you know. So well, they could go, I don't know, Holland, you know, the Netherlands. This week and next week is going to be Russia or India if they travel or whatnot. The reason I brought this up is Gensun Sumo is because Nigel Short, which we respected Grandmaster, former World Championship, challenger, and all around, you know, extremely accomplished chess player, and actually a very fun guy. I always liked his company, and always appreciate, you know, a nice chat with Nigel. So Nigel has his Skype little motto or greeting or whatever you call it, is gens una F, spelling it as a full word. But it starts with the letter F, sumus. That's Nigel Short for you. That was the time when he was planning his presidential campaign. And was fighting against Macropoulos and the old guard. Only a player who can play classical blitz and rapid better than Carlsen will be world champion someday. I disagree with you. There's never going to be another world championship match in classical chess with any kind of rapid or blitz time control game as a tiebreak. Everybody, the whole chess world is against it. It will never ever happen again. This is it. It's done. Carlsen did it twice already. Good for him. Next time he's going to have to win in regulation. It's not going to happen. Mark my words. Okay. So this guy is a great talent and is improving by leaps and bounds. And who knows, maybe he's going to be the one beating Magnus Carlsen and whatever discipline they use. But, no, once again, you know, like when the computers and database are great tools, you know, well, it saves you a lot of time, and the time is important in your development. So they get to everything quicker, they get all the best moves, the most common moves, they analyze stats, and they see who wins, what, and how. And okay, in this setup, we play in the English attack, the queen goes to d2. And there is a point in keeping the queen on d2. Even if it's behind those pawns and it's not a dragon and you're not going bishop h6. And I will get to this point later on. Yet it's a mistake. It's a wrong move in this position. In the Keres attack, white rarely puts the queen on d2. And what we have here, we have a Keres attack. Maybe we will lose tempo for white. And Kulau's old school, so he castles. He says, okay, go ahead, do it. Go your h5 and g6, whatnot. Maybe from that point of view, queen d2 to support the pawn on g5, so you can play h5 without losing anything. Yet it's the wrong move. A player familiar with Keres attack patterns would never miss a chance of getting the queen out on a better attacking position. Yeah, you can invite knight e5. Lovely. Lovely move, knight e5. But I love my position of the queen on g3. All English attack players know very well that knight c4 is nothing to worry about. You happily part with this bishop. You're only undeveloped piece. And you trade it. And there will be no mate on the b file. like Coates was planning in the previous game, but he didn't have the bishop on b7. Bishop on b7 will not help black to mate anybody on the b file. Bishops use diagonals, not files, for their attack. It's not really knight a5, no, but I play this move. More pressure against e6 and more power to all this. But there is one thing, you know, that, I mean, I doubt he really thought about this. I think he played queen d2 probably in 2 seconds thinking time, just considering it's an automatic and correct queen placement, which was not. But one line is interesting here, challenging, I'd say. Notice that the black queen stays on d8. There's no need to play queen c7 yet. And this is how black can try to exploit it. He'll play this. Now, I'm not sure about the next move, f4, but what if f4? I mean, obviously h5 is a good alternative. But we're looking at h5, and then we already see this. That's the thing that make you miss your queen on d2. It's a good sacrifice in itself with queen a5 and whatnot, knight c5, knight a4 happening, but there is also pawn on a4. Okay, suppose white does not fall asleep and plays the move f4 instead of h5. Then there is knight a5. Sorry, those somehow I feel parched, you know, maybe that I'm dehydrated because of the exercise that I did today. Yeah, but keep guzzling this water, you know, I may run out of this. Very little left. Anyway, knight a5, setting up the same sack. Now white has to be creative. But I believe he can be very creative here. I love this lateral rook placement. I can give up this bishop. I don't need anything. I need to stop this. And there is no b4 in an effective way. Black played 1, 2, 3, 4 moves with the knight to take for the bishop. Now, white is going to continue. The thing with those attacks, you know, they may be slow developing. That's a different approach of the English attack as opposed to Velimirovich's and Tal's sacrifices. You know this. Yes, somebody, you know, like, I mean, there has to be some kind of delivery service over here. No, I mean, water is a very modest request, you know, I don't know. Maybe I could use a beer, but, oh, sorry. Can I say beer here on this family channel? Is the word beer allowed? It's not one of the 7 words you can never say on the radio, right? Yeah, I could use a beer. Shit. Okay. Whew. I like white here. I think this attack is just simply cannot be stopped. See, the Sicilian black knows he cannot really stop white's attacks. Well, he can kind of beat him to the punch and distract him with counterplay. And here this counterplay is very slow in coming. Okay. Queen d2. Knight c6. It takes. I'm not sure how good this move is either. Well, he was inviting the bishop to c6 to alleviate the pressure coming from this knight e5, knight c4. And the bishop is on the c file, but I think it's a very bad move. In conjunction with a3. If the pawn was back on a2 and white had castled, I will be all for it. I would play f3 and get my knight from e2 to d4. Sidestepping all threats against this knight, and but my pawn needs to be on a2 for that. I don't want to give him the hook. Fischer warned you, do not play a3 in the Sicilian. It was all uncovered in the next move. I don't know if that dawned on Firuza right here, but maybe it's like little too early to panic, but in a practical sense, White is lost because he totally misplayed the position. Maybe that lost tempo on h3, h4 comes back to bite him. Maybe that was the inappropriate a3. Maybe that was the trade. Maybe it was the queen placement. But he really has nothing against a5 and b4, which is going to be way stronger than White's attack. Now, White also needs to cover the spawns. The typical English attack move still has to be played. See, funny, they play h3 early, trying to economize on the f-pawn move. Most of the time when they play h3 and g4, sooner or later they come to the necessity of playing f3 anyway. This is my opinion. Yeah, man, everybody loves talking about beer. Sometimes you don't even have to drink beer, right? Even if you talk about beer or think about beer, it already makes you feel better. How many people in America, everywhere in the world, around this time of day, right, are driving home? Okay, it should be in America because of the time difference. Millions of people are stuck in traffic, and they sit there, they curse everything. And the only thought that warms their hearts is that once they get home, there is beer in the fridge. You take away beer from us, and it's like, I don't know, well, our Western civilization is just, there is no point in keeping it. It's all about the beer. f3, a5. I mean, I don't know, I would feel terrible if and I understand this poor kid. I mean, what has he done wrong? He played what Anand played. He played the pattern of play that is known in thousands of games. Well, he wasn't around when they played the Sicilian different way. Well, everybody plays the English attack. He did everything right, and now he's lost. Almost. Okay, it's desperation, g6, right? And Kulats knows that it doesn't care. He's not gonna take and give White a chance to blast open some files. He's ready to answer with the trademark. What sound? Where's... Oh. Okay, came back. Alright, fine. Yeah, got muted, yeah. Okay, it comes back. I forgot, I check it, every second, but... those things, they come back. No, there is sound. Sound was missing maybe for a minute, not more. Alright, confirm that you hear me. I know that you do. So anyway, even allowing the king to take on f7, White just doesn't have the pieces. The pieces would get there in due time, but the problem is there is no time. The bishop's coming to a4. It's all the same, you know. You see the chess moves. Now I thought on this line, what I was thinking. Queen f2. Or queen g2. Oh, mixed stuff. Just does nothing, you know. Look, black just rolls. Next is knight b3 check. Or you take and then rook takes and then it's gonna what? Triple up on this c file. And I mean, it's just horrible position for white. Lost most likely. d5 is maybe a little less effective, but Clouds knows his Sicilians. Alright, his defense is economical. He brought the knight to f8. He knows that his 6 pawn has to be kept. The rook is actually doing something. And he opened up the bishop on a3. Good stuff. Firuza takes, bishop takes. Good move. Provokes this, now back. No trade. All black needs to do is to play a4 and a3, and it'll be over. Once again, it's bishop off, it's not the proper attacking position. It should have been on d3, but no, there are other problems. Even so, h7 is protected. White is long ways away from making one single threat. I know it doesn't look so bad, it looks like, oh, as the isolated pawn, those things. When you look at the kings, it's all about the safety of the kings. Forget about those pawn structures and all this stuff. The chess games I won by checkmate. That's what happened. He had to stop a3, but the remedy wasn't much better than the disease. Offering the a3 pawn, Kite is not interested. Okay, this is a blunder, but no. What else was there to do? Queen takes a3 was coming. Now check, and white resigned, because in this line, which he must play, not to lose the rook, he suddenly going to lose his bishop. Alright, I understand that Kaido Clouds had to do much more than this. That was only 2.5 out of 3. But 2 wins with the black pieces, and he followed that by beating 2 tournament favorites, Wei Yi and Daniil Dubov, also with the black pieces. Actually, the only game he won with white was a nice pressure last round win against Denis Khizmatulin. All other wins were accomplished with the black pieces. Such a contrast with last year winner Kovalyov, who won all 5 games he had white. Well, he really knows his stuff. Okay, I understand, you know, like every Sicilian player, I'm like this. No, you remember your losses, you know. You live by the sword, you die by the sword. But things really worked out for Kaido, and I'm so happy for him. So, round of cheers again for Kaido Clouds. 1 day short of his 43rd birthday, he won the biggest tournament of his career. And he punched his ticket to Dortmund. Alright, Dortmund guys. Okay, he was 25-42. He probably gained... Let me see, by the way. Enough chess games. I wanted to show 2 games only. Let's scroll down. Okay, it's some Russian there, because I don't know why it's in Russian. I guess because it's host country. Starting rank 62, rating 25-42, and performance 28-73. 28-73. Rating gain 38.4. Okay, with that he's up to 25-80. It's still not what the Dortmund organizers had in mind. They probably thought, oh well, maybe we'll get whatever, Wei Yi, or maybe Fedoseev or Dubov. It's gonna have to make do. They're gonna have to accommodate Grandmaster Kaido Kulauts. Well, I'm ecstatically happy for him. And now... yeah. One last comment. I may be visiting Estonia again, late in the summer. Jan Elvest is putting together a small, rapid tournament, actually, in the small resort town of Haapsalu, which is on the Baltic Sea, western part of Estonia. And yeah, well, I would like to go there, and I hope that Kulauts is going to be there. I wanna shake his hand, you know. I mean, after what this guy has done. More cheers for Kaido Kulauts. Yeah, this is it, as I said. No, right, guys, so I hope you enjoyed the show. I really enjoyed it. Sorry about losing my audio at some moment. This thing is just extremely annoying, but all this new software I keep putting on my computer, it keeps conflicting with one another, and I don't know, I updated all the drivers, and yet, you know, there is some bad stuff that sometimes happens, and absolutely an unpredictable pattern and totally random, but no, well, good that you tell me immediately, but yeah. Okay, that should wrap up our show. I'll see you next time. When is the next time? No, the tournaments are gonna start coming, one after another. March is gonna have what? World Team Championship, next event. Must cover it. Then US Championship plus the European Championship. I hope I see you at least 2, possibly 3 times in the month of March. I need to do it a little bit around my own schedule. For a week I'm going to Puerto Rico. And they say, why are you going to Puerto Rico, Alex? You know, what's in Puerto Rico? Okay, this is the answer. That's me today, about 3 hours ago. Okay, maybe 4 hours ago. I know I enjoyed myself a lot doing that stuff today. But I mean, Puerto Rico sounds better and better. Better and better. Every day this extremely long winter drags on and on. Thank you guys, and goodbye.